Representative, do you want to say anything on the transportation infrastructure?
Sure, I'll be glad to talk about transportation infrastructure, but I'd like to ask a question first. And it's about the economic impact on my constituents, and then we'll talk about the transportation impact on the constituents that don't have their members of the legislature here. In the last process, where the two units were built, it resulted in a 25% increase in the utility rates for my constituents in inner city Fort Worth. They are ill-prepared to handle another 25% rate increase. Now, I believe the NRC process does not take that issue into consideration, so I want to ask Michael, who's supposed to be doing the EIS on this, to what degree will the NRC take into consideration the environmental impact on my elderly constituents that cannot afford a 25% increase in their utility bills?
And that is a good question. We do consider benefit cost of having a plant on site or siting a plant there. However, I really don't have all that information available to me yet for review. So, but in order to give you a higher programmatic aspect of this, I'll let Barry Zaltman answer pretty much our general program.
One of the things you may recall as Comanche Peak Units 1 and 2 were being constructed, they were utility-based facilities. In other words, the state equivalent of a public utility commission or a public service commission had to evaluate that as part of rate making and determine what costs need to be recovered. For these two units, as I understand it, on the details, we don't have an application in yet, they are likely to be merchant plants, in that there would be power purchase agreements that do not involve necessarily rate-based type issues. As part of deregulation, these facilities will come online outside the rate base, although the power companies themselves may purchase some of these power supplies that come out of that. It's a kind of question that could very well be answered by the applicant itself as opposed to the staff. We're looking at what information we will get in the application, how to evaluate that as part of the cost-benefit balancing that we go through in the environmental review. But in terms of being a merchant plant, it's fundamentally different than the traditional aspect of being a utility.
Well, I don't believe it, but we'll look at it more closely. In answer to the question about transportation, I'm just going to have to be fundamentally critical of Texans for not standing up and voicing their concerns about this more strongly. I represent a party that's not been in control of state government in over a dozen years. We are not adequately funding public transportation. We are not adequately funding any aspect of our transportation system. But y'all got to turn around and ask your elected officials to do that. The caveat is this. They said, okay, we'll do toll roads because that way you don't have to have taxes. I'm telling you, we tax at the lowest per capita rate of any functioning state in the country. It's an unfair tax system to where it's set up, but you can only squeeze so much out of the turnip. We don't put enough into education, we don't put enough into healthcare, and we don't put enough into highways. And until you turn around the paradigm and say, we're willing to start paying for the infrastructure we need, you're not going to be able to get that infrastructure.
Thank you, Representative.